topic is about exposure. When do you do exposure? Are you supposed to go hunting? Are you supposed to allow fully? What do you do? Right? Well, for me, it was it was a lot of finding out and doing the wrong thing until I found my training zone. Right? So, for example, in the beginning, I couldn't go full steam ahead and start eating the pizza because I found out when I did do shit like that. When I my brain decided to flick the switch and go, okay, you only got two safe foods now. I didn't know that at the time when it decided to flick the switch. This is after my perfect storm, right? This is when the perfect storm kicked in, I should say. And the only way I knew I had two safe foods is by finding out, by eating foods that I was able to eat. And all of a sudden, I would have 2 to 3 week flares, crashes, right? All kinds of crazy symptoms. The toilet, right, would trigger me so badly that I was going through the hospital 3 times a week, right? If I went outside of eventually, I ate my safe foods, which was rice and beef. Eventually, it was apples. I was only able to eat that for a year and a half. If I went outside of that, even a little bit of tomato or avocado, I would be in a flare, or citrus, or a sip of ginger ale, right? Or egg, or pork, or anything that was in the fridge for more than 24 hours. I was on the toilet having crashed, not just the toilet, not just the bad scene in the toilet. When you look in the toilet, right? I had to stop looking in the toilet, but not just that, but my blood pressure went up and down. Tachycardia was at 120, constantly at resting. Skin issues. I've never had skin issues before. Um, dizzy. You name it. I had all the symptoms: impending doom, looping thoughts, anxiety, panic attacks. Right, and this was just by eating one little bit by accident, or sometimes not by accident, and that's it. You're screwed for 2 to 3 weeks. And then eventually things came down, started to calm down, I should say, and I was back to eating my safe foods. I would retreat. I made a mistake. I found out it was horrible. Right? This was a nightmare. So, in the beginning, you can't just jump in. Right? In the beginning, I did no extra exposures. I didn't do any exposure sessions. Right? I did exposure and hunting. This is where you start hunting for the things that scare you. This is where things that are scary become your target, and you hunt them on purpose. Right? That came in like 2.5 years. Right? Before that, no extra exposure. It's not even something I thought about. You know what? Just doing the regular work and just living was exposure, right? That was plenty of exposure. For example, doing the 8 pillars, right, is plenty of exposure. So when I was doing visuals, right, if I did past visuals or future visuals, that was exposure. The brain would send me all kinds of thoughts. In the past, let's say I went to the past in my visuals and say, "Oh, remember that once upon a time you felt normal, and you could do this, you could do that. Now you can't look at you. Now you're all fucked up." Right? And I didn't like that. I didn't like the doing my visuals, or I'd do the visuals in the future, and it would say, "Hey, look, why are you even bothering planning your future and having, hopes and dreams? You're never going to have that. You're going to be a person living in a basement with cats, on disability, being single." Right? What else was there? Um, so doing the work, just doing the work, right? So there's the visuals. That's a form of exposure. Allowing is a form of exposure. Engaging in life is a form of exposure. Sticking to a routine, right? Routine. That's one of the pillars. That's exposure, right? Having your calendar all set up, following it. That's a natural exposure, right? Going for walks, being a movement in nature, all exposure. So I didn't need to do any extra exposure. I just started where I was at. Just being alive was exposure, right? But changing my response is already exposure. So in the beginning, I did not do anything extra. Plus, if there were certain things that were too heavy duty, right, I would either not do them and wait, or take a little bit, right? 10 seconds at a time, 30 seconds at a time, and engage. This is the thing. When you're doing any of this allowing stuff, this is why allowing is so huge, right? I would allow eventually everything. But if you're a person that, and this is where I did most of the allowing. This is maybe what might help some people. Most of my allowing was just with my thoughts, right? I did as much allowing as I could with my symptoms. But at first, it's difficult, right? Yeah, there's a learning curve. Yeah, you're not going to be fully indifferent. You can't. It's freaking you out. You have to have the freakouts, get them out of the way before you become friends with your symptoms. So eventually, in time, when you allow, you become friends with your symptoms, you build that leverage of indifference, right? And this allows the system, your alarm system, to update and calm down, and then it starts to turn off alarms. So what I had to learn was, and this is where some people, right, I had to learn to get comfortable in the discomfort. Because, you don't want to go overboard with the allowing. And some things we can't even, we're not even ready yet. There are some things we're not ready to do yet. And you're going to find out. Well, how do I know? You're going to find out. And then when you go make the mistakes, because they're not really mistakes, you learn from everything. And you find out, tweak it and go, okay, that was crazy. I had a 3-week flare. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. Maybe avocados are out of the picture. Maybe this thing over here is out of the picture. Maybe I went too deep too quickly. Maybe I shouldn't even waste my time thinking about this yet. Maybe I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe I'll do that in a year. Whatever it is, XYZ. That's what I did. Right? And then when I was ready to do work on some things, I would work with the low-hanging fruit. The stuff that's easier, and you usually can tell. You have a spectrum of alarms. The ones that ring louder are more sensitive, and the ones that are doable. The ones that, you don't like the goal is the thing. I don't want people, I don't want me to enable people to go, well, Helmut said that, it's too much, so you can retreat and just fucking chill out. Right? I don't want people doing nothing and they're not moving forward. Right? It still should be a nightmare. The general work should still suck. You should still be making exorcisms jealous. It should still be hell. But not to a point where you're re-traumatizing yourself. Right? That makes sense. And the only way to really learn this shit is to go out there, make the mistakes, and find out and go, wow, I can't do that again. Because that really delayed my journey. I freaked out. I ended up going to the hospital 3 times, freaking out. My survival state went up because I was crying and I thought I had this wrong with me. And that, eventually it all passed and calmed down. But wow, did I ever learn something from that experience? Right? Sometimes we need these experiences to find out, to pull back a bit. So here's a saying that I really like, right? Get comfortable in the discomfort, right? And then I made up my own word. Get discomfortable, right? There should always be a certain level that you're, reasonably going through the journey of hell, walking up the mountain and flip-flops, the lava mountain, right? That's reasonable. That sucks. It's hard work. You're supposed to feel like shit. This whole journey, you're supposed to feel like shit within reason, though, right? You're supposed to feel like, let's say, out of 10, you're supposed to be at like 11, but not at like 20, because it delays your recovery. It re-traumatizes you. It puts gasoline on the fire, right? And you're not moving forward. You actually take 10 steps back, right? And that's a big delay, but it's going to happen. Unfortunately, it's going to happen, and you're going to go through it. And it's going to feel like it's the end of the world. But you will learn something from it. That's where they pay off. So you tweak, you pull back a bit, and then you find your training zone That's not too safe. You need a little bit of that danger in there, because that little bit of that danger is the opportunity for you to update, to send the right response, right? That we're not sending a response of survival, right? We don't want to survive through the exposure that we're doing or the discomfort. Never try to be aware of it. You might in the beginning survive a little bit because we're human, right? It's like riding a bike. Okay, I'm not supposed to. This is what you'll be thinking. I'm not when I go to the grocery store, I'm not supposed to survive through it. That's what Helmut said. But the first 5 times you might survive a little bit. You might go, okay, I'm surviving. Oh shit, I just survived, right? Because first you got to be aware that you survive. So that's okay. The first couple of times you might survive, you might white knuckle, but eventually the goal is for you to go to the grocery store, get the lettuce, walk in slowly, right? Buy the lettuce and try to remember, let's not white knuckle. Let's not rush this. Let's not race out of here back to the car to our safe zone. So usually what happens is, this is what I would do. I'm like, okay, I got to do this exposure. Okay, here I'm walking up to the front door of the grocery store. Here we go. I'm 2 meters away, and you're anticipating danger, right? So you're bracing yourself. You get in there. You have it all mapped out, right? You're like, I'm gonna go to the lettuce, and I'm gonna go right to the ground beef. Get a can of beans. This is just, I wasn't able to eat beans, but get a can of beans and then hit the shortest lineup so I can get the hell out of here and race to the car and be home free. So that's what I would do. Boom, right? And you're surviving, right? You're having a war, you're in a war zone. Alarms are going off. You're having a freak show, right? You go get the beans, you get the ground beef, you look for the shortest lineup, right? You get out of the store, you're doing the slow motion, almost like it's gonna. You get into the car. All right, we did it. We did it. We survived that. And that whole thing was a write-off, right? Because obviously, what message were you sending through that whole exposure? You were telling the brain you're surviving through danger. So the brain goes, okay, yeah, he was in danger the whole time. He did the exposure. What an idiot. Okay, keep the alarm on. Keep it on. There were laggards in there. He told us. He showed us by him surviving. So instead, what you got to do is you got to casually walk in there, do a little circle around, right? Go get the lettuce. Get the beans. Don't get the beans right away. Look at the back of the beans. See what ingredients are in the beans. Oh, it's beans. Okay, so then you go to the ground beef, right? You analyze the weight. You analyze the prices, right? You ask some questions. You go to the fruit, talk to the lady picking the melons. You ask her some questions, right? You drag it out a bit. You pretend like you're interested in the conversation. Then you go to the lineup that's the longest, right? And you try not to white knuckle. Try not to survive. And then you walk to your car, and maybe you walk around the parking lot, and then go into your car slowly. And then you sit down. Right? And the whole time you're trying to be mindful of sending the right response of surrender. Give me more. I love this. And then you do that once a day. Find any excuse you can to go to the grocery store to buy whatever. Repetition. And eventually the alarm system updates and you become indifferent. And there's one more thing that you're not afraid of anymore. You don't get symptoms. Right? So I made some notes here. Did I say exposure, state training zone, work with what? So with the allowing, what I say is also, right? Just work with it. The brain sends you on a platter. Right? You don't have to dig for gold or unicorns or trauma. Just work with the brain, what the brain sends you. If it's something in the past so happens to land on the plate, okay, we'll allow it. We'll work with it. But in the beginning, all you're doing is just starting where you're at, and you're allowing what you can. If it's too much, okay. Distract a little bit. right? Because don't forget, when you're allowing, you're also engaging. So when you allow for maybe 30 seconds to 3 minutes tops, and then you move on, you engage. I have an acronym that is like, I always forget. What's the point of the acronym then? All right, the acronym is ALARM, right? Alarm is allow. L is let it do its thing. A is ask for more. R is run towards it. M is move on, but bring it with you on your shoulder, right? That's what we do. In the beginning, you might not ask for more. I started to ask for more around a year and a half in, 2 years. That's when I was ready. And then that's when I started to hunt. This is when, your fear becomes your target, your thoughts, they become your target. You have a compass and you follow it and you expose yourself. You got this routine down like a T, right? You got it down. You know to bring it up. You know you're going to feel like shit. Okay, we're sending a different response, right? It's a great routine. You feel like shit, you allow it, you change your response, you do it repetition. What are we working on today? Oh, we're going to do some exposure on blah, blah, blah. All right, let's do it. The fear, we're going to hunt it. Maybe you're scared because you have gut issues. You're scared of seeing pictures of a colon. Okay, so, right, 2.5 year mark, you're ready? Because, you've been at that sweet spot for so long, but you can push it a little bit more. Because you've done enough of the work, the survival state has come down, you can handle it. So, fuck it. So you start Googling. You start doing some YouTube videos of a colon, right? Right up and personal. You're looking at colons. And it's freaking you out a little bit, right? So you do a little bit of that. And then throughout the day, you allow the thoughts. You allow the what-if thoughts that come because of it. The symptoms might come up a bit, right? That's the kind of hunting that you do later on. And then you do some turbo exposures, right? Turbo exposures is a great tool that I use a little bit later in my journey because the brain will hijack you and it'll start pulling on you, right? It's like, yeah, but dude, the what if thoughts, right? So for me to bring that energy down from a 10 to a 7 or a 6 so I can do my visuals and do the work, the 8 pillars, because the brain was constantly cock blocking me. I couldn't get into a flow with my work sometimes. So I would do turbo exposures. Some of you guys might know. So in the beginning, this might be too much. But eventually, when you do the work and you get to a better place in your recovery, you can use this tool. So what it is, right? And this is where I use my phone. I use my phone for my visuals also, and I used it for turbo exposures. So what I would do, let's say I have a what-if thought that's scary, and I'm about to sit down, do one of my pillars, which is doing my visuals, where you do an hour of visuals. Right now, all of a sudden, my brain just won't let me do it because it's got this what-if thought of a scary thought. Right? So what I would do is I would go, all right, let's turn the recorder on, press record, and I would say that thing that scares me in detail in a paragraph and repeat it 20 times in a row. And while I'm doing that, remember, I'm at like a 10 out of 10, triggered, freaking out, right? When I'm doing that, I'm triggering myself on purpose, so my survival state goes up. And then while I'm doing it, I'm changing my response by allowing, surrendering, right? It's also an attitude of safety, not an attitude of survival. Right? It's more like drunk noodles, overcooked soft noodles, right? Right? That says safety, right? So you repeat it 20 times and you sit there after you repeated it 20 times. Already the brain's already going, man, this started to sound funny. But now you start feeling the feelings of the fear, the alarms. You sit in it. It's like you're sitting in the fire, right? You just sit in it. You allow it. And then you go and engage and bring that thought with you on your shoulders, right? And you might do it again at lunchtime. You get your recording, you press play. It's already recorded for you. And you listen, right? You listen to it and you get triggered. You get all fucked up. right? You're purposely triggering a stress response, but you're changing the way you respond to it. So it goes back to maybe a 9.5 this time. And then you sit in the fear, you allow it. And then you go back to engaging. You're cutting the lawn or you're chopping lettuce, right? You might do it again later on that day. The more you do it, eventually that alarm will start to neutralize, right? So I'll give you an example. I'll give you a shitty example because I can't think of one right now. Okay, I'll use the one that I always use. I'm afraid of fields because I'm worried that if I walk through a field, I'm gonna be bitten by a tick, and I'm gonna have this whole journey of a year and a half that I've been on this journey is gonna go all to shit because I'm gonna have to take antibiotics. And I'm gonna be sick again. I'm gonna start all over. That was kind of long, right? You can go a little shorter, right? You say that same thing 20 times. Go, I am afraid of going on fields because I'm afraid if I walk with my dog, I'm going to get hit, bitten by a tick, and I'm going to have Lyme disease, and I'm going to start all over. I'm afraid of going on into a field because I'm afraid I'm going to be bitten by a tick, and I'm going to have Lyme disease, and I'm going to have to start all over. I'm afraid of blib, 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 right? You repeat that times 10, times 20, right? And by the time you're at like 18, I'm afraid of you're kind of like, something about a tick, and I'm going to be scared, and I'm going to have to do this all over again. What a waste of time that's going to be. Right? And then you sit there and you feel the feelings, feel the alarms, you sit in the fire, you allow, and then you move on, you engage. Right? And you record it, and it's there, and you can use it for later. The point of that is, it's like a blitz, right? A blitz of the thing that scares you. It's like doing exposure, but so much faster. So we can move it along, right? That's why I call it turbo exposure. And when you do it like that, you take some of that energy out of that alarm. So it goes from, instead of that alarm screaming at you at a 10 out of 10, you know, you're like, man, I can't function right now because all I'm focused on is this alarm screaming at me. So I'll use this turbo exposure and bring that alarm down to like a 7. So that I can at least do my visuals, I can at least do the pillars, right? And do the work and get back to a routine. That's the goal. So with allowing, because allowing is another form of exposure. It really is. Because you're allowing whatever it is to be there without rushing it out, fixing it, trying to figure it out, letting it do its thing, letting all the ugliness come up, right? If it's too much, let a little bit of the ugliness come up, right? And then engage. But make sure you feel that a little bit of ugliness, taste that. Oh, I don't like, you don't have to like it, right? You don't have to be neutral, but we're trying to. That's our goal. With repetition, you'll get there, right? So that's the point. That's the goal, is you allow what you can, but push yourself a little bit. Don't always be don't always retreat, and don't always be in the safety zone, because then you're never moving forward. You have to get uncomfortable. You got to get comfortable in the discomfort. You got to get discomfortable. And eventually, the brain will turn these alarms off one at a time. And it's always better to work in a training zone that works for you. It's your sweet spot, right? Use these methods and apply them to where you're at so that you will do the work. And yeah, there's going to be times where you go overboard and you find out. But you know what? Don't waste that, because that's where you can tweak it and find your perfect training zone. So a little short one today. I just wanted to talk about how we can allow, how much to allow, right? You can allow too much, right? And also with the exposure, the same shit. It's all the same shit. You're exposing, right? It all depends on your situation. Some things we can't do right away. So find something that you can do and repeat it times 200 to 500 times, right? Like with me, processing my thoughts. I had enough to work with. My brain had so much shit on my plate. I didn't have to do anything extra. Right? And I know you guys know what I'm saying. Everybody that's going through this journey, especially in the beginning, you got so much piled on to you. You got plenty. You don't got to do anything extra. Right? Just work with what you got. And it's tons. And you know what? It'll keep you busy for a year and a half to 2 years. You got plenty. Right? So don't be in a hurry to expose yourself or dive off the deep end because you're already in the deep end as it is. So just start allowing where you're at, right? And for me, it was a lot of deep end allowing. This is where I could take it a little further with my thoughts, and I would do that 200 to 500 times a day. So I would do allowing processing. So I would process my alarms, my thoughts by allowing them. And the way I did it, I was like, okay, Limby, show me the fear. Right? Let's say I was going on a walk, right? Literally, this was my 9 to 5. For the first year and a half, was just me processing my alarms, my mental alarms, my freakouts, my what if thoughts. That's all I did for a year and a half, literally, was process my what if thoughts. And the way I did it is let's say I was going on a walk, right? I was like, okay, my brain is hijacking me. I'm looping on this thought. It won't leave me alone. I never had, for 2 years, I didn't have a moment of pause, right? So what I would do in the beginning, this was my 9 to 5. Let's say I was walking, I'd be like, okay, let's pull over here. Let's use that tree as a focal point. I'm like, okay, let me show me what you got. Show me the fear. Bring it. All right, bring me what you got. Oh, I don't like that. Right? And I would feel it here, and I'd picture it. I'd go, okay, Limby, we're gonna make it look like a purple cloud. Okay, bring it to me. So it'd be a purple cloud coming through my chest, my throat, and I could feel it dissolve. The energy, be like, because I'm finally acknowledging. I'm finally right, because that's the point of an alarm is to acknowledge it, right? So I'd be like, all right, I'm here. I hear you. Thank you. Thank you for sending me the alarm. Thank you for protecting me. This is your job. I know what you're doing. Thank you. I love you. You're amazing. So I feel it, picture it passing through me, and then re-engage. That took maybe 30 seconds to 3 minutes tops. And then you got to move on. You got to engage, because if you don't, you're pouring gasoline on the fire again. You're allowing too long. Don't allow too long, right? Just like some people, they cry too long, right? It's good to allow and feel that and get and express the emotion, but you got to have a little bit of a sweet spot time limit and go, okay, now we got to engage, right? And then I repeated that exact same thing all day, every day, every second, right? And believe it or not, you're doing this 200 to 500 times a day, maybe more, right? I didn't have a chance to count them. Maybe I'm like way off. Maybe it was like 1,000, 2,000. Like, how many thoughts do we have in a day? Think about that. Google it, right? That's how busy I was. I'm probably way off. Okay, let's do a little quick Google, right? Let's do a quick, how many thoughts do we have in a day? How many socks? No. How many thoughts do we have in a day?
60,000 thoughts. According to Policy Viz, according to the research of Dr. Fred Luskin of Stanford University, a human being has approximately 60,000 thoughts per day, and 90% of these are repetitive.
90% of these are repetitive. Okay. So, I was way off, but you get the point, right? So you get these looping thoughts, thousands of them, I guess. I didn't never counted them, but I thought 1,000 was a lot. I guess not, right? You allow as many as you can. You don't have to catch them all, right? Let's not go crazy here. You catch what you can handle on your plate, right? You pick one, you go, okay, here we go. We're going to process. Okay, here we go. All right, blah, blah, blah. We're not trying to grab everything. We're just, whatever comes. Oh, okay, allow. Okay, and engage. Okay, allow. Okay, and engage. Okay, and allow. Okay, and engage. Deal allow. Deal. That's what we're doing. And you just repeat times a gazillion, right? And eventually, that brings the survival state down, right? Right? The brain starts to turn off alarms, right? You get back to rest and digest. The brain hardwires it back in. This is your new program. You're back to zero. And that's the goal. You're not here. You're not at 1,000. You're not at the survival state. Nope. You're overcooked noodles, right? You're Drunk, right? Rest in that. This is where everything starts to get back in line. Everything's just chilling, right? Your biome's back, right? It's doing its thing. It's back in the balance. Your liver, your kidneys, everything. Your brain's creating neural power. Everything's just right. Everything's working in concert. You're not in dis-ease. You're in ease. Right? Amazing. Yeah, you want to be ah. All right, guys. I just wanted to hop in quick. I'm gonna say hi. I'm gonna make some shout outs. Computer fast repair. How's it going? Fibromyalgia is curable. That's what I mean. Don't bother going on Google or going down rabbit holes. Just a waste of time, waste of energy, which actually puts you in a survival state. Right? A lot of wasted money. All right. So, just want to say shout out to hey Spencer, what's going on? I'm taking any questions today. I'm supposed to do one more walking with the dogs, and I got some shit to do. But I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, Helmut, for your help. Could you explain? Okay, maybe I'll take one quick one. Can you explain how to allow thoughts without ruminating? Okay, so sometimes this is where it's a skill. It takes time, right? This is why we have a routine. You have a schedule because if you sit on the couch, the brain's going to hijack you. It's going to win. It has to win. That's its job. It's going to hijack you, and you're going to get sucked into ruminating. So this is why we have a routine that you follow like Groundhog Day every day, right? But you're still going to have moments where you're sucked into the rumination, right? So if it happens, this is why you got to catch old behavior patterns on a regular basis. You can be like, oh shit, I'm ruminating. Good, I caught it. I caught an old behavior pattern. I got sucked into the ruminating. So what am I going to do? Okay, I'm gonna let it finish off for a bit. I'm going to let the ruminating stop for, let's give it another minute. Then we're going to go engage, right? And then when you go engage, it's going to be like, no, but we got to keep figuring this out. We got to keep finding the safety and the danger. We got to keep scanning for the danger. We got to keep the doubt. You got to know, right? So try not to volunteer yourself into ruminating. Go, yeah, let's ruminate. Let's do it, right? Don't try to figure it out, ruminate, fix it, get rid of, right? So try not to ruminate, but there's going to be times where you're going to get sucked into it. Okay, allow it and finish it off. Give it a little bit of a time limit and go, now we're going to engage and stick to your routine. This is the work, right? It's not easy. It is a challenge. And yes, it's tricky, but you're going to get better at it. And the more you do this and just do the work, right? And suffer and suck at it and make mistakes, right? It pays off over here, right? And when you keep doing the work, keep doing the work, right? It is doing it, you are moving towards recovery. You might not feel like it though, but let's say you're doing it right. You're like, I'm still ruminating. I still fucked up. It's still moving down. Trust me, it's still changing. You're still transforming, right? Most of this journey, you're making exorcisms jealous, and it feels like you're not making a scratch, but you are, right? You will see it. It makes massive changes, but you won't feel it right away. So stick to it, and you will get there. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it a day. Just wanted to do a quick check-in type of video. Tomorrow, I'll go live tomorrow. What time? Tomorrow at, I won't say yet, just in case. I don't want to, say a time, and then I might not be able to show up on time. But sometime tomorrow, I'll go live. Awesome, guys. Please like, share, subscribe.